Illman and Mike Beer taking a look at the DRF race of the day for Wednesday, June the 12th. Race number 7 at Delaware Park. Let's throw up the field. First level allowance with a $75,000 claiming option. 3-year-old fillies going the about mile and a 16th distance on the turf. Field of 11 in here, 10 in the body of the race. The 11, a main track only. The 6, Bell of Rights, Mike. Strong connections, returning in a similar spot after a good effort off a short layoff.
Yeah, we just saw her 3 weeks ago here over this course and distance against a very similar field to this one. In fact, a couple of rivals who are back in here finished behind her. Came up short that day, Dan, but nice forward move in her second start of the year.
It's done nothing wrong from 2 lifetime starts. We'll throw up our Time Form US pace projector for this race. The number 9, Love to Eat, is coming off of a gate-to-wire win on the dirt. She has shown speed on the turf. She's going to be up close and just great, stretching out 3 furlongs and switching surfaces. Also should show some speed. This pace should be fair.
Yeah, they look like the right 2 speeds to me. I didn't necessarily feel like they had to be blazing up front, but I think it should be a fairly run race.
I'm not sure how good the number 1 Hecate is. This filly won her career debut when placed first via disqualification at a huge price, and then was completely overmatched in the Salima Stakes second time out at Laurel. Her one and only start this year just looks like a prep on paper. She gets washed off the lawn. She runs 5 furlongs on the dirt. Throw that race out. She's getting back to what she wants to do, seemingly, and that's 2 turns on the turf with a little class drop.
Yeah, and I like that she does it here with a prep under her belt anyway, Dan. And so we'll see how much, she can move forward here, because it seems pretty clear that she's going to have to take a step forward in this race, but there's no reason that she can't do it. She's very fairly priced on the morning line. I mean, 20-1 for a horse like her who could easily improve a lot in here. That's pretty good.
Just Great is the number 2, one of a couple in here trying turf for the first time. She's by Maryland's leading stallion, Great Notion, who is average with its turf performers. The dam has foaled 1 turf winner. Arnaud Delacour does very well with these sort of horses moving dirt to turf and should be forwardly placed, although this distance is a question mark.
Distance is a question. I think surface is a pretty big question for her too, Dan. We'll see how she handles the surface, which, I mean, I don't hate the Great Notions on the turf. There's just not that much grass on the dam side. You mentioned she has 1 sibling who did win on the turf. There's 3 to try it. Only one on the surface, and that was a 5 furlong turf sprint. I don't know. I'm worried about this horse stretching out.
The 3 is Doesn't Hurt to Flirt. This is the only 3-time winner in the race, and I thought she looked pretty good winning at the fairgrounds 2 starts back, sitting just off the pace and then attacking in the lane to win. Came off a little layoff at Delaware last time out, settled off of a slow pace, didn't have the cleanest trip. Mike, I can see her doing better.
Yeah, I can too. I think if nothing else, you want to at least, if you liked her going into that last race, you want to be a little forgiving. She did finish behind Bell of Rights, but this filly, it really looked like that. I don't know if you agree with this or not. It looked like she was moving into contention around that final turn, and she just got in tight. Her rider just had to take a hold of her. She dropped all the way back to last, and it was just going to be really hard for her to recover from there. She had enough excuses last time to stick with her if you liked her in there.
You Can't Win is the number 4, and this one's trying turf for the first time with some pedigree. The dam won a couple of times on the turf. The second dam was multiple grade 3 placed on the lawn, and she's raced around 2 turns in the past, albeit over the bull ring at Charlestown. She's going to be a big price in this race, but maybe wakes up on the lawn.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. There's enough pedigree here, and it's not like her dirt form is terrible either, so maybe she can transfer it over. I do feel like for, these surface switchers, I want a little bit more to hold on to than that, then, especially against a field like this one. I actually feel like she's switching over and facing a pretty good field here.
Considering Source's pedigree, it was somewhat surprising that Juddmonte was willing to sell her as a yearling, and she only went for $31,000. She is kin to a horse that won the poker. That's Mason, I think, a full sister. Source then made her debut over a synthetic track in France, and she looked very strong, and she looked like a horse that will handle an American-style course. Settled in mid-pack, advanced on the outside, held off a late runner. Everything good about that effort. Now returns off the layoff for Graham Motion, one of the best in the business off the bench.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. I liked her debut quite a bit. I thought she did some good things in there. You mentioned her pedigree is really, really strong. Her second dam is Intercontinental, the great Intercontinental. So there's a lot going on here. And I think it's also worth noting that Motion, he had her entered at Saratoga on Saturday in a much tougher allowance race. She drew the far outside post and he scratched her, and now she turns up here.
Won't be surprised if she runs well in this spot. Obviously, nice looking workout on June 7th. Got to look at that work. Just breezed very comfortably well within herself. Belle of Rights is the number 6. This is the McGahee trained fillies. Had a lot of success with Forrest Boyce in the Mid-Atlantic region over the years. Here's her most recent performance at Delaware. It was not a very fast pace. She stalks on the outside. For a second, Mike, it looks like she's got to look at this in mid-stretch, and she's going to grind her way on to be second. Good performance, solid figure. I guess she's the horse to beat.
Yeah, I guess she is. All in all, she got a pretty good trip in this race, Dan. I didn't really see a big excuse for her here, and she's only second best, but she did earn a figure for it. Her career debut was obviously good as well. It just didn't come back that fast. We talked, I think that race that we just watched there was our race of the day 3 weeks ago. And so we talked about her debut that day, Dan. She held on for a dead heat there, but she was very lucky to share that win. The horse that she dead heated with had all kinds of trouble.
Whispering Sea, the number 7, ran okay on the turf. 2 starts back in Laurel, her final grass start of 2023. Then she ran at Gulfstream Park last time on the synthetic, and something tells me that's not her surface. And maybe something happened to her physically as well, because she now returns off a 6-month layoff.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how much I care about that anyway, but maybe there's an excuse, and it was a different surface. And listen, they had run her on that surface, the all weather surface in her debut, and it was another pretty bad performance. But her turf form's pretty good. I mean, I know the win was only for maiden 40, but she looked good winning that day. I actually thought she ran really well at Laurel, Dan, in November. I thought that was a really good performance and a real move in the right direction for her. I can see her taking another step forward here off the layoff.
This will be the 3rd start of the form cycle for the number 8. That's Kamikaze Umagi, who finished behind Belle of Rights last time out, but didn't break very well. The pace wasn't very sharp, so maybe we have an excuse there.
It's certainly possible, Dan. I mean, if you wanted to look at it that way, I'm not going to argue. I would just point out there that she's always well back off the pace in her races. So I don't, feel like getting off a little slow is some kind of huge excuse for her. And after that, I just felt like she got a really good trip in that race. And to me, it never looked like she was going to win. I understand that she moved forward in there. And if she runs another 75 or maybe even a little bit better than that, she's a contender in here at a price. But I would prefer the other horses out of that race that she's exited.
Love to Eat, the number 9, the projected pace setter, 7-2 on the morning line for trainer Jamie Ness, coming off that gate to wire win in an off-turf race at Parks. She has shown good form on the turf in the past. To me, 7-2, though, is a little bit light for this horse, especially if she faces some early pressure.
Yeah, I wouldn't take her at that price either. I mean, I guess you have to respect her speed, especially because it does kind of feel like maybe she's improved a little bit since Ness has claimed her, and this will be her first turf start for Jamie Ness. So I mean, I think these are things that you want to keep in mind, but I didn't like her races on grass prior to the trainer change, and I would never take that morning line price on her.
Serpent Coca, the number 10, finished behind Whispering Sea in that allowance race at Laurel back in November. She ran an Aqueduct off the layoff, Mike, and it was a race where I think she was wired in that race. She was trying to come from last, and it looked like just as she was starting to wind up her run on the second turn, she got forced out pretty badly. Now, I don't think she would have won with a clean trip that day, but she has enough of an excuse that makes me think she would have been a little bit closer at the finish, and I think that race is good enough to put her right in the mix here.
Yeah, no, I'm going to agree with that. I mean, I wouldn't be too. I actually feel like she ran deceptively well in the Aqueduct race there with a trip that was just never going to work out in that field. And she showed potential as a 2-year-old last year. I mean, we love Graham off of layoffs, and so maybe you want to be a little disappointed in the last one, but I think she ran well in there, and I think she's going to run well right back. She needs a trip from the outside post. That's the only real question.
And Laganisi has entered main track only. We're going to handicap this race for the turf. Before we take a look at our top selections, please subscribe to the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time, race 7 at Delaware, the Wednesday race of the day. You're going with Graham Motion. I'm going with Graham Motion. Source looks like she's got all the potential in the world.
Yeah, I feel like she could be well spotted here. Again, I don't think it's the easiest spot in the world, but she's not meeting a bunch of killers here either. And I liked her debut. This is supposed to be her surface, Dan. I think it's a good sign that she turns up here after he briefly thought about running her at Saratoga.
The post isn't great for Serpent and Coca, but I think this pace will be honest. I think the 9 and the 2 are going to go out there and set legitimate fractions, and we'll see if she can step forward in her second start of the form cycle. If Source isn't a freak, then I think she fits very, very well from a class standpoint. 5-7-3-10 for Mike, 10-6-3-8 for me. Your DRF race of the day for Wednesday, June the 12th to the 7th at lovely Delaware Park. Good luck.